So after we have purified ourselves, then we now need to set for ourselves a Ramadan plan. What I just talked about, and my time is about up now, what I just talked about is the pre-Ramadan program. What we need to do prior to Ramadan, or at least in the first days, whatever, if it's caught us now, we try to correct up that as much as possible. Then we now need to lay a plan for Ramadan. Just as we plan for everything else. In life, if we don't plan, as they say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That's a well-known saying. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You must have a plan. If we're going to run a business, we don't just jump into it feet first, and I don't know, we plan first. We check the market, we see what's out there, we get the right materials, get the right people to work for us, etc. We plan it all out, then we implement. Without that, we're going to fail. It's chaos. Everything, studies, university, school, everything must have a plan. And spiritual life is no different. We must have a plan. Ramadan is no different. We have to plan for Ramadan. So it means when we keep the goals of Ramadan in place, then we plan. Okay, we have to break fast during Ramadan. So let's get the necessary foods for Ramadan, get it ahead of Ramadan so we don't spend the nights of Ramadan out buying food for this gathering and that gathering. And of course, what happens? You know, your wife has to cook all this food, right? You bought all the food, you spend the night buying the food. She has to cook all, she spends all day cooking the food. When the party is over, then she spends all night washing the dishes. So what happened to her Ramadan? Well, for us, we just come and eat the food and enjoy, right? Yeah, we're not distracted. But for your wives, you have to think. Ramadan is important for them too. It should be a month of ibadah, not a month of cooking and washing dishes. And it's the same thing with our meals. Is Ramadan a month of eating and feasting? Is that what Ramadan is? A month of eating and feasting? Or is it a month of fasting? Feasting or fasting? We have to ask ourselves. In Muslim communities around the world, that the average Muslim gains weight. After a month of fasting, we gain weight. Non-Muslims look at us and laugh. They say, what kind of fasting you all are doing? You gain weight in Ramadan. Doctors' recommendations in the newspapers advising Muslims not to overeat because in Ramadan they have so many cases of people coming in sick due to overeating. And this is supposed to be a month of fasting. It means again that our priorities are upside down. It should not be a month of feasting and partying. It should be a month of fasting. What does fasting mean? It means that we have a light meal, not a 3-course meal for suhoor, right, as we're doing now. We prepare a full 3-course meal and we eat till we can't eat anymore. Then we pray Fajr, and of course you become tired and weak, you're full, and you spend all day digesting the food till maybe about half an hour before Maghrib, the food is finally digested and you're ready to go at it again. Right? Yeah. Where is the fast? What happened to the fast? The fast is supposed to produce in us hunger, which makes us then aware of those who are hungry around the world, and so we are sympathetic towards them because they're hungry out of no food. Not because they choose to fast, but because they're without food. So we should then be concerned about them and want to give and to share. And this is what the Eid is, sharing what we have with others. But how can we experience that if we don't experience hunger? So we have to reorganize and focus on what we should really be doing in Ramadan. We should read the hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ mentioned concerning Ramadan, the merits and the benefits, reflect on them. Then we should establish the Quran, because Ramadan is a month of the Quran. As Allah said in the Quran, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. The month of Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed. It is the month of the Quran. Meaning we should read the Quran as much as we can in Ramadan, but it is reading it with understanding. Not reading it ritualistically, where we just repeat the words. We have learned how to put the alif, bata, fatha, kasra, dhamma together, so we can just say those things. This is not reading the Quran. This is reading the letters of the Quran. Reading the Quran is reading what Allah has said to us. Reading and reflecting, as the Prophet ﷺ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. Will they not reflect on the meanings of the Quran, or are their hearts locked up? Do they have locks on their hearts? Is that our state? When we read the Quran, we don't know what it's saying. We don't know what it means. It has no impact on us. So we are like the worst of people, as Allah describes them in the Quran, قَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. Their hearts have become hard. So the revelation doesn't touch them. It doesn't move them. It has no impact on them. And Allah said about the Quran what? ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. That is the book in which there is no doubt. هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Guidance for those with taqwa. Back to the taqwa again. Back to the state of the heart. If the heart isn't purified, if it isn't open to do what Allah has commanded, and it approaches the Quran in that way, then the Quran is no guidance. The Quran is not a guidance for us. So then we waste the Quran, the month of Ramadan, reciting the Quran with no benefit. So for those of us who do not understand the Arabic text of the Quran, when we read the Quran in Arabic, and it's good to read it in Arabic, we should also read the translation. We have the translation in Indonesian, we should read it and know what is Allah saying to us. Because the goal of reading the Quran is to understand Allah's communication to us, so that it will have a change and an impact on us. So it will be, as Allah described it, شِفَاءٌ لِمَا فِي الصُّدُورِ, a cure for the illnesses of the hearts. So I advise yourselves and myself to increase our acts of worship, the sunnah prayers that we normally leave out. Try to do them. Try to do more. The Taraweeh, we should try to do it. Make dua regularly in Ramadan, as we haven't done outside. And to do it, to help ourselves do it, it is good before we go into Ramadan to write out what are the most important things for us. What we feel are most important things we need to change in our lives, to correct. Write them out. Make 30 du'as, write it out. Each day, focus on one of the du'as. Of course, with other du'as, but focus on it. This